Hey y'all, hope you're doing well today. So in today's message, we're going to continue the discussion about David and Goliath, and we're going to bring in Saul and talk about that and how it's relevant in our lives, especially with regards to having sharpened discernment in navigating this reality, understanding that there are people out there who seek to destroy our spirit. Let's be real. Let's just call it what it is, because that's exactly what it is, right? It's a spiritual battle. It's the spiritual wars between light and dark, and it's happening on the regular. And sometimes we don't catch it until we're already involved in a group or in a relationship of some kind. And so it's ideally we're going to be able to learn from these experiences so that we can identify it before we get involved, right? But as we have come out of bad situations, then it's only going to benefit us the more that we work to understand, right? It's kind of like, this is how I view it, it's kind of like going through these trials and tribulations, you may say, these hardships and challenges. It's like it takes, there's a processing that has to happen to even become aware of things that we didn't even know as we're going through the experience. And that's like extracting wisdom, right? But then after you're out of that and your mind is free, right, finally, to be able to think on its own, so you can think for yourself without this outside influence, you know what I mean? Once we get to that point, then we can start to examine that wisdom, and that's where we can pull it in deeper and gain understanding. So that's how I view wisdom and understanding, especially with regards to that Bible verse, which I love, which is the principal thing is wisdom. And then it expands, right? And explains how understanding is not the same as wisdom. It's like another layer or level of it. So it's like the principal thing is wisdom, and with all your getting of wisdom, right, get understanding. So that's the other piece of it. And that piece of it is what you can only get when you tune in. Okay, and so that's going to be a really big part of the message today. How, being alone and having that time to process so that understanding can come to the surface in our conscious mind, so that we can then apply it in our life. It's going to make all the difference in the world with regards to our safety, our peace, and then therefore the possibility for joy, right? And happiness, and being able to experience life in a way that doesn't feel heavy, in a way that feels more just at ease with regards to our day-to-day life. And so this is big stuff. It's like it really matters. And I just want to open the discussion kind of viewing what we're going to talk about as what it means to take ourselves out of chaos altogether, right? It's like being in the world but not of it, sort of like that. So I hope that you are encouraged and inspired by today's message, and mostly I hope that it gets the wheels turning for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. What I'm coming to understand is that the primary best thing that we can do for ourselves is to secure our confidence in ourselves. And when I say confidence in ourselves, I'm not talking about the flesh, the physical, the ego part of us. I'm talking about our true self, which is the spirit, which is strengthened by union with the inner guiding light, right? So that's what I'm talking about, okay? And as we go through the discussion, I'm sure that this will become more clear as we go along. So, all right, so to look at the inverse, right? not only are we securing our confidence in ourselves or that inner guiding light, okay, that it's so integrated within us that it becomes part of us, right? But also, looking at the inverse, to destroy or demolish any possibility for doubt to creep in. This is so crucial, and I know this firsthand, okay? So we're going to talk about it today. All right, so what does this look like? To destroy or demolish any possibility for doubt to creep in. How does that look? Well, essentially, it means avoiding people who cause you to doubt yourself. That's essentially what it means, okay? People that get you to second guess yourself. And there's so many tactics, right? But just for example, like patronizing remarks, even covert ways where they try to do for you. It's kind of like if they're doing for you, there's that. It's like they're trying to create this string that's attached of commitment. It's like an unsolicited. Well, it is solicited, but it's solicited in a covert manner. You see what I'm saying? It's like by doing for you when you haven't asked them to. It can even be like unsolicited advice. That's what I was thinking of, right? It sort of creates this obligation. That's what I'm trying to get at. But I feel like it's just all kind of because it's done covertly, behind this mask of, they care for you and they want the best for you. It kind of affects us on this not fully aware level, on this subconscious level. So there's this obligation type commitment to sustaining a relationship with a person like this. You see what I'm saying? Whether it's a friend, a family member, whoever it is, there's just all these subtle ways that we can be manipulated. So yeah, it can certainly look like they're trying to help, right? When you don't need help. But the underlying message that can be detrimental, this is the big takeaway from what we're talking about in this moment, okay? This is so important, so crucial when you're talking about wanting to be sure that you're protecting your pearls of self-assurance and confidence in yourself and that inner guiding light, when you're wanting to make sure that you're not allowing doubt to creep into your mind and heart. This is so crucial, because when these people do this in this covert, I care about you kind of manner, the underlying message that gets planted, or the seed that gets planted into our subconscious, is that they believe you can't do it for yourself. And even though you can, if this is a person that you respect, it's going to impact you, even unconsciously or subconsciously. So this matters. It matters to shield yourself from exposure, even not just engagement with, but just exposure to, even just a minute exposure. Because see, I feel like there's like this reinforcement that happens if someone has treated you this way, even subtly so. If it's been something that's been impactful for you, especially over a period of time, and it's been repeated, then it doesn't matter if you have an interaction with them that is seemingly innocent, and they're not saying anything that they shouldn't say, or anything, nothing's going wrong. Just the sight of them can serve as that reminder to yourself that you're less than, or you're incompetent, or you're inferior in some manner, okay? It's kind of like, and we're going to get into it a little bit, kind of like David knew that Saul was jealous of him, and he knew that he wanted to kill him. It didn't matter the few times when they would meet back up, or their paths would cross again, and they were congenial. It didn't matter. In his bones, David knew the truth. And we need to get to that point. We need to get to that point of being so sure of our own judgment, of our intuition, that we don't question it. that when we see it, we see it, and we can't unsee it, and it is what it is, and we trust ourselves to that degree, okay? So that's going to be a big foundation of the message today. All right. People who treat us like this, it only impacts us, like I said, if it's a person that we respect, because with these people, it's like the risk is that we start to believe them. We start to believe that maybe we are incapable of doing life without them, without their authority, even though it's not a conscious thought. Okay, it may be implanted on some other level. All right, because it's kind of like in alignment with if you consider the only, because if a stranger comes along and they're saying patronizing things to you, it's not going to matter, right? Because you don't have anything established with them. You don't even know them well enough to respect them. All those kind of things, like a stranger, it's just not going to matter. So it's all about if you care about a person, right? It's like the only way somebody can hurt you is if you first have to care about them, right? So I just encourage you to be really awake and aware. And sometimes this only shows up, not even consciously, but just subconsciously via a feeling, okay, via our bodies, our bodily reactions. If we start to just feel uneasy, or we start to just kind of want to close up, we start to hunch our shoulders, and then you walk away from this interaction and they were really friendly, so it's confusing, but yet you feel bad about yourself in some way, but you just feel bad in general. Maybe you don't even know enough to identify it as feeling bad about yourself. You just feel bad in general. So again, this is all the workings of messing with your mind covertly. Okay, we need to get sharp enough to recognize it and call it what it is, okay? To be bold and blunt with ourselves in that manner, okay? So they use so many tactics to get us to doubt ourselves. So doubt is the enemy, okay? Doubt is the enemy. And so, because this is how manipulative, controlling people operate, I believe this is why David, like Jesus, spent time in the wilderness. Okay, the wilderness. There's something special about the wilderness. Okay, we're going to talk about it. It's kind of like, what is it? What is it? What is the wilderness? It's you may think of it like your own peaceful environment where it's quiet and just a silent time with God. It's kind of like that Bible verse, be still and know I am God. So there's that stillness, right? So let's break this term down, okay, just to get a further understanding. So the ness, N-E-S-S, refers to a quality or a state, okay? Not so much a place, which is interesting, again, because in these myths and stories and fables and all throughout different cultures, even within the Bible, the parables, all this, these stories, when they're talking about characters and places and things like that, we can pull metaphorical meaning for ourselves and understand that there's a spiritual meaning there. I'm not saying the physical isn't true. I'm just asking you to expand your mind and consider the possibility of, again, a paradox, a both and mindset, not a limiting either or mindset, but a both and, okay? Pulling what the metaphor may mean for you on a spiritual level. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't invalidate the physical if that's part of your belief structure and system. It's not invalidating that. This is what I've had to understand for myself, so I'm just sharing with you my lens, okay? So ness, from wilderness, N-E-S-S, refers to a quality or a state, like a state of being, okay? Wild, if you look at the Old English wild, W-I-L-D-E, it means in the natural state, uncultivated, untamed, undomesticated, uncontrolled. Uncontrolled. So, see, control is the act of keeping under authority. Okay, control is the act of keeping under authority, checking and directing action. That's what control is. So it's kind of like, again, a lot of times we understand these terms as part of our language, like we get it, but to sit with it in the wilderness, in our own quiet environment, in a state of peace, where we can truly absorb this understanding on a deeper level. It's like, okay, I really get it now. Like, I got it, but now I really get it. So hopefully this is making some light bulbs go off for you as far as what manipulation really is and how it actually presents in our life. Okay, so control is the act of keeping you under authority, someone's authority, and they do so by checking and directing your action. Okay, now here's the thing. God is described in the Bible as the one who should be directing our steps. Okay, God. And he does, but there are those who try to mimic his authority. Okay, who does this sound like? It sounds like the devil. That's what he does. Okay, which it basically means when a person's doing this, they're doing the work of the devil. Okay, they're trying to take that place of God. God is our authority. Okay, he's the one that directs our steps. There's all kind of verses. You can Google that, and just for the quickest way to find the verses, God directs our steps, verses, and you'll see just a list. But no, that's what controlling people want to do. Manipulative people want to be the one to direct our steps, okay? So, yes, the devil even tried to tempt or test Jesus by convincing him to bow down and worship him. Yes, right? It's like, are you serious? He literally did that. So, in looking at David and Saul, okay, we see that King Saul was jealous of David. Okay, and it says the Spirit of God left Saul, but was with David. That's all the difference right there, okay? Who's directing a person's steps? Is it God or is it the devil? You know what I mean? What's the intention? What's the motive? What's the driving factor? What's the spirit behind all the actions of this person and the desires of this person? That's what matters. Okay, so yeah, it says the Spirit of God left Saul and was with David. So see, this is what is envied in us. It's the light inside of us that these people don't have, that they envy, okay? So when we look at Saul, we realize he was actually too much of a coward to face the giant Goliath. Yes, he was, okay? So Goliath wanted to presented himself as like a one and done, or maybe even the start of this battle, right? And he represented the Philistines. So he was putting himself out there, and it was kind of like it's interesting because Saul, the Bible even describes King Saul as the obvious one who should step forth and take on this battle with the giant, right? But he doesn't. He's a coward, okay? And so I love the example that David sets here. Remember, God is with David, okay? So so he steps up. He's like, I'll do it. And so Saul offers him armor, and he actually refuses. Okay, here's that unsolicited help, okay? He wants to be relevant, even though he doesn't want to be the one to actually do the work. You see what I'm saying? But he wants to be the one who is seen as being a big part of something that matters. So Saul is offering his armor to David. David's like, no thanks, okay? Which I love. But he's like, I'm good. He takes his slingshot and 5 rocks. So I also love the fact that, his display of faith is rewarded, okay? And when he wins the battle, it only gives him more favor I feel like it's favor with God, that he was obedient in his faith, and also it gives him more favor with the people, right? Because they saw what went down, and this just made Saul more jealous, right? So he wanted to kill David, okay? And it didn't matter, it was like, if you read through the story, it's like there's different points in time where, David's aware of this. He's made aware by I think it was Saul's son even, that really respected David. And he's like, look, he's going to kill you. So he knew that Saul was after him, okay, that he was envious. But he was still, he still stuck with his character, his integrity. Even when he was, when their paths would cross, he would still stay respectful. Just an incredible example, right, for us. So, but again, he knew in his bones that he wanted, Saul wanted him dead. So here's the thing. The more I sat with this story, it's like it just all came together for me, that it's the same way with us. When we're seen by a narcissistic person, right? We may not have identified them as such, but hopefully sitting with all this will help us to identify them, okay? Even if it's somebody that's been in your life a long time, okay? I just encourage you to just retreat to that place, that of your own wilderness, okay? To let everything kind of come together for you. So when we are seen by a narcissistic person, okay, they're envious that our obedience to the light inside is fruitful. It produces fruit in our lives, okay? And they're especially angry if we reject their help, just like David did with the armor that Saul offered, okay? Or if we reject their input, their advice, their directives, okay? So here's the thing. I initially went into this study associating Goliath with narcissistic people, okay? And in studying this, I realized no, Goliath is or can be symbolic for the challenges of life itself, okay? And notice how King Saul avoided him, okay? Even while having the position of king, okay, in the Bible again, it mentions explicitly that Saul should be the one to take this on, right? So notice how he avoids it, and he's jealous of the one who doesn't, okay? Just like a narcissistic type person, okay? Avoiding responsibility, motivated by selfish reasons. So the story is everywhere. Okay, it truly is. I say this, but it's like when I say that, I mean like all the fables and the parables and the stories and the myths. And if we can just have those eyes to see on that level, the spiritual representation of the characters and all the bits and pieces, the details of the story, understanding there's a spiritual layer that we can discern. Okay, I see what this is saying here. Oh, I see what this means. I see the symbolism here. I see how this applies to my life, and I see how this applies to the people that I interact with out in this world who have selfish motives, okay, to the detriment of good people. So I just encourage you to look for this story, okay? So I just encourage you, the message essentially seems to be the same regardless of the story, and the message ultimately is to make wilderness your home, okay? To stay connected to the light as your authority, okay? And this does require disengagement with the public, pulling away to your quiet place, okay? And the difference here too, just to illustrate further, Saul chose for his power to be determined externally, by external sources, right? He wanted that external validation. But David's power was internal and eternal. You see the difference? So I hope this has been enlightening, encouraging. I hope that it got the wheels turning for you. And I hope that it was very inspiring for you today. And I just hope you enjoyed the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.